Hi, everybody. Welcome. My name is Faith Casme. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the Associate Dean and Director of the Women's Community Center at Stanford, also affectionately known as the WCC. The WCC is one of the centers for equity, community, and leadership on campus, where we strive to support students' growth and engagement around the issues of gender, equity, identity, and justice. To start today's event, in recognition of the widespread impact of colonization, we offer this land acknowledgement as a grounding to honor the original inhabitants of the lands where we engage in this work. While we're not currently in the physical WCC space, we acknowledge that the Fire Truck House, where the Women's Center is, and Stanford University sits on the unceded and ancestral lands of the Muwekma Ohlone tribe. This land was and continues to be of great meaning and importance to the Ohlone peoples, and we recognize this with humility and a commitment to education, awareness, justice, and honoring their sacred land. And we invite you to join us in acknowledging the land that you're currently occupying and recognize that we all benefit from the injustices perpetrated on Indigenous people and give honor to their ancestral land. Now, it is my sincere pleasure to introduce to you Tessa Lisanti, who's a member of our WCC staff and who will be moderating our panel for today. So go ahead, Tessa. And again, welcome. We're so excited to see you all.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the We Are STEM panel. Students discuss gender identity and their journeys in science, technology, engineering, and math at Stanford. My name is Tessa, and I use she, her pronouns, and I'm currently a senior studying computer science. This year, I'm working as a Women in STEM coordinator at the Women's Community Center, or the WCC. Our Women in STEM program specifically supports the growing network of gender marginalized students studying STEM, as well as student groups through a wide variety of programming. This year, we have launched our 4th year of our Women in STEM mentoring program, where undergraduate students have the opportunity to be paired with a graduate student studying STEM. In addition, the Women in STEM program previously has put on an annual Women in STEM symposium, as well as workshops on microaggressions, how to succeed in an interview, and intersectionality in STEM. In addition to the Women in STEM program, the WCC has many other program areas, including feminist narratives, health and wellness, and collective liberation. If you'd like to learn more about our programming, you can visit stanfordwcc.weebly.com. So for our We Are STEM event today, you will hear from 4 undergraduate students studying STEM and about their experiences at Stanford. There will be time for questions at the end, and folks are welcome to use the chat feature to submit your questions. So please welcome our panelists today, Alex Nam, DRC Simon, Jenna Jung, and Kathleen Simodas. With that, let's start with introductions. So I'll ask that panelists give their name, pronouns, year, and majors. And can you, as an icebreaker, can you tell us a little bit about the moment that you were admitted to Stanford? And we'll start with Alex.
Sure, thank you so much for the intro. Hello, everyone. My name is Alex. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a senior and a co-terminal master's student in computer science. And I'm also staffing at the Women's Community Center as a Pathways coordinator. And I remember the moment I opened my inbox and got the acceptance letter. I was super excited, but I also didn't believe it at first because I remember it was sent out on April Fool's, and I was like, maybe this is not true. I don't know if it's actually happening. But I vividly remember it's been 4 years, so it's been some time. But I was super excited, and part of me was like, I don't know if it's actually true.
Darcy, you're next.
Yeah, thank you, Faith and Tessa, for those introductions. I'm Darcy, everyone. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a junior studying engineering physics with a focus on sustainability. And when I found out I got into Stanford, it was midnight for me because I was in the UK. So I ran screaming down my road in the middle of the night. So that was a fun moment. I don't know who is next. Jenna?
Hi, thank you for the intro, Tessa. I'm Jenna, I'm a junior, she, her pronouns. I'm majoring in management science and engineering, so I'm definitely on the fuzzier end of the STEM panel. The diversity of majors, love to have it here. I'm trying to minor in art practice as well. I'm from New York City, and the moment that I got into Stanford, I remember this pretty clearly. I was actually having the worst day ever because I went to a huge school and no one really applied to Stanford. So they all knew that I had, and they were like, oh, like, she's going to be sad later. Watch out for her sad Instagram story, everybody. It was not great. But then I went to IHOP, watched Mamma Mia with my friends, and then I opened the thing. And I also thought it was a joke that I had gotten into, but here I am. Not a joke.
Hi, I'm Kathleen. I use she, her pronouns. I am a senior here at Stanford. I'm from San Francisco originally. I am a dual major in physics and music, specifically in music science and technology. I also am doing a master's right now, a coterminal master's in music science and technology. Let's see, the moment that I got into Stanford, I, like Jenna, was having a terrible day. I had been like crying all day because I was so certain that I wasn't going to get into any colleges. And then I didn't even want to open like the email or whatever. And my mom was like, no, you have to open it. You have to open it. You have to know. And then I just started like crying, and I literally couldn't believe that this was happening to me. Like yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, thanks everyone for sharing. So can you tell us about when you decided you were going to Stanford and about your journey into the STEM major at Stanford? We can start with Alex again.
Sure. So I guess for me, because I'm originally from Korea and I was in Korea when I got my acceptance letter, I didn't get a chance to actually visit or be on campus for the admin weekend. But I got a chance to talk to other people in the area who were either doing just different programs at Stanford, and all my conversations with them, they were just really nice, very humble, amazing people. And I just really enjoyed getting to know them, and also just getting to know Stanford in general. So that's was one of a big part of the decision making process for me, just talking to people and really appreciating their experiences. And also because Stanford has really strong engineering program. And I guess coming in, I knew I wanted to study something. I actually thought I wanted to do econ and math. But in my junior year, I got more into CS research and started getting more into the intersection of CS and statistics. And I think that was sort of the one of the most pivotal moments for me to decide that I actually want to do more with CS research. And it wasn't until my junior year that or the first quarter of my junior year that I declared CS.
Yeah, we can hear from Darcy next.
Yeah, so I guess the reason I decided to choose Stanford was because of, I think, so I don't know if anyone here is familiar with the UK system, but I went through the entire UK secondary education system, and it's a very narrow system that forces you to choose pretty much the one thing you want to study by the time you're 16. And I very much was not in that headspace. I really enjoyed a lot of my subjects and wanted to continue with them. I was actually trying to decide between studying classics or engineering, let alone what type of engineering. And Stanford offered this incredible opportunity where I could do both. And that was really too awesome to pass up on, I guess. And I'm very, very grateful I have the opportunity. I've had the opportunity to do that here. So that was kind of what convinced me, or what encouraged me to come all the way out to California for university. And Stanford has just such an amazing breadth of classes and strengths in all of these different departments that has been really awesome to experience. Sorry, was there a second part of the question as well?
It was just your journey into the STEM major.
Oh, yeah, I think I kind of knew I wanted to either do STEM or classics, and I remember I took a physics class at Stanford that was just honestly one of the hardest classes I've taken, but it was so awesome. And I remember talking to somebody about it, and I was like, it's so difficult, but I'm being challenged, and I guess maybe this is like what I want, to be challenged and to be pushed, and engineering physics has definitely done that for me.
I think I'm next. Yeah, so I think there were two things really that made me really decide that I was coming to Stanford. The first thing I think is the people here. When I came during Abnett weekend, I feel like there is a difference between the people that Stanford chooses to admit. Definitely, I just like it was just really wonderful to be surrounded by people who were so passionate and interested in such like a variety of things. And honestly, the attitude here I think is different. Um, Coming from the East Coast, I feel like there's a culture there that I wanted to take a break from. So I think it's really great coming out here and experiencing like a completely different side to the United States. But that being said, the second thing that I really came here to take advantage of is, as Darcy mentioned, the extreme breadth of classes. So Stanford is very strong in all of its departments, and this kind of feeds into the second part of the question. I myself am very like divided between the arts and like science and STEM. I came in thinking I wanted to be a public policy major. I started by taking anthropology classes, thinking I was gonna be an anthropologist, and then from there I was like, okay, this is too much reading and liberal arts. This is really hard. I miss my STEM background because I went to a STEM high school. So I started taking classes in biology, and then I thought I was gonna major in human biology. And then I found the major that I chose, management science and engineering, because it was a good half between thinking critically and having this like fuzzy side, as well as hardcore math and engineering classes. So that's how I got to my major. But yeah, just that being said, I just want to underscore that Stanford does a really, really great job of enabling you to explore your own creative interests. I can't say the number of times that I've been able to take advantage of this place. And that's what you should do too if you choose to come here. Like, you should not be servicing yourself to the university. You should be here sucking up all the resources and doing everything that you can with everything, all the money they throw at you. And I think that this place does that fantastically. It's just on you to seek those opportunities out and really take advantage of that for the next 4 years, because you're not going to be like put on a pedestal like this by a university ever again, I think, as an undergrad.
Yeah, I think it's my turn. So in terms of choosing Stanford, so it was really there were two things that were really important to me in choosing a college. One of them was being as close to home as possible, because I am really, really close to my parents, and I wasn't like mentally in a place that I could leave, that I could go too far away from home when I was 17. So there was that, and also probably equally important was that I knew that I was going to double major. I like college was about me being able to do music and a STEM field. Um, and Stanford was the only place that was an option for me that that would allow me to do that in like a reasonable amount of time. So like 4 years as opposed to 6 years. Yeah, I wasn't necessarily dead set on physics. I mean, I think in one of the later questions we'll probably talk a bit more about like how we chose like the specific STEM major, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I always liked astronomy, but I was also interested in like neuroscience and stuff like that. So it just kind of, I thought that I was going to do physics, but I wasn't totally sure. And it just kind of worked out that way. I also didn't know about music, science, and technology at all, which is also a really cool field. And yeah, I can talk more about that later too.
Yeah, that's a good transition. I know some of you have already addressed this, but if you want to add more, have you always known you'd study the major you'd picked? And if not, how did the transition work for you?
I can start. So for me, I knew I was interested in math and I wanted to do something of like applied mathematics, but I didn't exactly know what that would mean. And it really wasn't until my like first quarter of my junior year that I started doing robotics research. And that really helped me take a lot more CS classes. And then I realized CS is more than just programming or like designing an application. And a lot of it, especially like in the research world, comes from like mathematical and like theoretical backgrounds. And that's what really intrigued me. And a lot of the questions that we were asking in different classes were also really interesting. So I think, and then like that led me to declare CS and get, mostly because I wanted to like delve more into like those questions. Yeah, I mean, if more people are interested, I can also talk about it later, but I'm happy to, yeah, let other panelists share their experiences as well.
Yeah, I think like for me, I came in, I knew I was interested in engineering physics. It looked like a cool major. And then I kind of got a little scared and I started like exploring a bit more, and I tried like some mechanical engineering classes, some maths classes, did like the classic CS class for Stanford, and eventually kind of came back to engineering physics and was like, well, I love all of these things. Like I loved mechanical engineering. I loved like the CS and the maths. And I was like, but I didn't love them enough to like completely do just that one thing. And I was thinking about it. I was like, well, this major, engineering physics, manages to combine all of these things and also gives me the physical, like the physics and the background behind like the mechanical engineering concepts that I was applying in those classes. And it gives me the background to then be able to go on and do that later in my life if I want to go on and do a co-term in mechanical engineering, for example. I thought that was really, really awesome for a major to be able to situate me such that I can go on and be able to enter so many different fields of engineering and science with such a great physical background, and also some exposure to like the CS tools and mechanical engineering and electrical engineering tools that I might still need during my internships. So I love my major. I could definitely talk more about it if anyone's interested, but I think that exploration time for me when I like moved away from the major and tried taking a bunch of other classes that I was interested in was just so important in like justifying it to me, like why I wanted to take this major and why this was right for me.
Yeah, I already basically answered this question in the last one, but I'll talk a little bit more about it. Yeah, so unlike some of the other panelists, I had no idea what I wanted to do when I got to college, and now I don't know what I want to do with my life. That's okay. And that's why I chose Stanford, because Stanford makes it okay for you not to know. You don't have to go into Stanford declared a major. I know most other colleges you have to go in like already knowing what you want to do. If that was me, I would be so miserable and feel so pigeonholed for the next 4 years. But as I mentioned, I went on this crazy journey, like all around campus through all the departments, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And the best part is Stanford doesn't pressure you too hard to settle and choose your focus until you got all your stuff sorted and you explored all your options. So I ended up declaring management science and engineering last quarter, 2 quarters ago. Woo! As a junior. So yeah, really, world's your oyster. You can take whatever you want and explore whatever courses you want to, and then really figure out your passion, and really just explore all the options that Stanford has to offer, and then decide what you want to do. So I think that that's like a fantastic aspect about Stanford. That makes it different from other places. But at the same time, like I'm also just super grateful that I have the opportunity to minor in like art, just to balance everything out, satisfy both sides of my brain.
Yeah, so for physics, so I did kind of I thought that probably I would major in physics coming into Stanford because I didn't have any experience in really STEM at all because I went to a public arts high school where STEM classes were very few and far between. But I liked the idea of physics. I liked that it was kind of answering some of the biggest, most philosophical questions of like existence and the universe and stuff like that. I also really liked calculus. So that was kind of my logic for choosing physics. Also, from like a practical point of view, engineering wasn't necessarily going to work with my like dual degree type thing. Physics is fewer units, so that was kind of like a practical thing as well. And I can't stress enough, like kind of what some of the other panelists have been saying, that you should really explore your options. I didn't. I kind of just kept going with physics, and that's kind of just what it ended up being. I mean, I'm grateful now because, like what Darcy said, physics really opens up a lot of opportunities in a bunch of different fields. But I didn't take the time to like explore other options in STEM. I just kind of went forward. And yeah, you should definitely take the time to explore your options. In terms of music, science, and technology, which is a STEM field that people don't, it's weird because it's interdisciplinary and people don't really know that it exists because it's like really, really small and niche. I didn't know that it existed. I found a professor who just happened to speak at an event, and I came up to him and I like started talking to him, and he's like, "You should do this. You were literally like the perfect person to do this," because I liked music and STEM. Um, and then I ended up taking some classes in it. Like my junior year, and I absolutely like fell in love with it. Basically, like, you know, I learned so much about how music works and how to create music using computers and stuff, and how to like build instruments and things like that. And that was really exciting. And I yeah, I mean, I'm doing a master's in it, so like it was cool.
Yeah, thanks everyone for sharing. And yeah, I had no idea until today that music science and technology was a major, and it sounds super cool. So that's just a sign that you should definitely spend time exploring things that you might not have thought about before. Um, so yeah, our next question is, how have gender and other parts of your identity impacted your experience in STEM at Stanford? And we can start with Alex again.
Yeah, no, this is like a great question. I think generally, like most of my experience in STEM has been pretty positive, and I think a lot of it is because I've been supported a lot. Just like, and I've been supported by like so many great mentors and just resources in general. Because I don't want to sugarcoat it. Like engineering at Stanford is difficult. It's a lot of units. It's extremely challenging. Like the courses go by really fast, and I do have to admit, like there are times when I feel like the ratio, or like we have like pretty diverse like student and like teaching assistant representation, but there are still times when I feel like I have to prove myself because of the way I look or like present myself in classes. And there are definitely pressure. So it's not like everything's super fun and like easy all the time, but there have been great mentors and just a really strong support system, including the Women's Community Center. And I do have to do a plug here because it's been a huge part of my STEM journey at Stanford, because I was a mentee for Women's Community Center's Women in STEM mentoring program 2 years ago. And I'm still like in touch with my mentor. She's been one of the best people, like so inspiring, and just a great mentor to have in my life. And I like still like we still do like coffee chats and stuff like that. So like getting to know mentors and like people who can support you, both like academically, professionally, but also like just on a personal, like human to human level, I think is super important. And that's what really helped me stay grounded during all these like crazy times and also like difficult academic times.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything Alex said. Like the support system that I have had available to me has just been completely invaluable, and really just got me through some difficult times, classes, and being there for guidance. So that is a fantastic support system. I think just to like answer the question for me personally, I would say the biggest impact it's really had is on my confidence, I think. I feel like I entered Stanford very much not sure about myself and my position in a room. So when I was taking these physics classes, that was exacerbated because half the time I was either the only woman in the room, and I also wasn't sure that I even wanted to do physics. I was still like trying to figure this all out. And so sometimes that would mean that like I wouldn't speak up if I had a question, because I, as a woman, I just felt even more conspicuous. And sometimes like that's the situation when you're in a field that is unfortunately male dominated. And I think as I kind of continued through Stanford, it became more obvious to me that it wasn't necessarily a matter of my ability, it was a matter of my confidence, in comparison to everyone else's. And that realization helped me a lot. And that came about through some of the just like most amazing professors and TAs that I've had that have kind of shown me that. And like I'm thinking of one incredible professor in particular right now, Professor Pat Burkett. I think Kathleen knows her. But yeah, I would definitely say it's just like it was realizing that it was a matter of confidence for me. And that has just helped me a lot moving forward, I think, in my life and my career. I don't know if we have time. I also have a funny story about this. Okay, I'm going to tell it quickly. Tessa, feel free to cut me off. I started doing like the Physics 60 series. And I was like, it was like first week of freshman year. I was like so nervous. I felt like everyone just like knew all the answers to the questions. And so I ended up like, even though I loved the professor, I ended up doing the Physics 45 instead of Physics 61. And then I found out like later that quarter that the only reason I hadn't been able to keep up was because I didn't realize there were readings for the class. And that was it. And so it was just a matter of me being like really unsure and like not asking that stopped me taking this class. And after that, I was like, nope, I'm going for this. So yeah, check for pre-class readings, but that's the moral of that story.
Yeah, I would definitely totally echo everything that Darcy just said about being a woman in STEM and how that affects my confidence. I distinctly remember my sophomore year, I was taking this optimization class, and I was like one of 6 girls in the room. That sucked. But at the end of the day, it's so nice to know the other women in the room and help each other out. So like, I'm sure every major, oh my God, don't even get me started about the EE major here. There are like single digit women in the EE major, the electrical engineering major, because it's so heavily male dominated. That being said, it's like a small major too, because it's insanely difficult. But I know that they have like a group chat with where all the women in the major support each other, and that's wonderful. It's just like a wonderful connection to have. But that being said, I also want to plug other support systems that are on campus for women in STEM as well. Besides the wonderful Women in STEM mentoring program that we have at the WCC, we have other student organizations that focus these kinds of issues. For instance, there's Women in CS. There's the Pre-Med Association for Women. There's like the Environmental Systems Engineering. There's one for every major, basically. And so there's just, once again, there's just so many outlets that you can go to. Darcy mentioned your faculty and TAs, which have also been so immensely helpful for me, but also fellow students as well, because like 90% chance, 99% chance that you are not the only one of your gender identity in your major, unless you major in like archaeology. I think there's like or like geology. I know one person majoring in geology. So, I mean, you could do that if you want to. I digress.
Yeah, I mean everyone's made great points so far. So I guess, I mean, being a woman in STEM has been an important part of my time at Stanford, but honestly, probably more important has been that I'm first gen and I didn't have any STEM experience going into Stanford. And I literally it's been so hard. Uh there are some great support systems. I mean, for me it was mostly this, the version of support system for my major, which is physics undergrad, women and gender minorities at Stanford. Um, and I met some great friends there who had similar kind of backgrounds, and they really supported me. But it was, I mean, it's when you come from a back, like there's a lot of privilege here at Stanford, and you just kind of have to accept it. You just kind of have to find something that keeps you going. For me, it was research. I had a wonderful opportunity my freshman year to do astronomy research, and I really loved that. And even though classes were like not great for me, and kind of the environment like wasn't, people didn't, there's a lot of lack of respect for people who like don't have experience in like a STEM field. That's just a reality kind of at Stanford. I mean, again, there's lots of support systems, but like, I want to be honest, it's true. But like, finding something to hold on to was really kind of what got me through. And for me, it was research. It was just, I loved being a part. I loved knowing that I was like contributing to like, human knowledge in some way, like finding out new information about planets and galaxies and stuff like that. And that was the thing that got me through classes and professors and other students not being nice. Yeah. Also in music, in music, science and technology, it was a bit different. I think actually physics actually doesn't have as bad a gender disparity as you might think, at least at Stanford. I mean, it's still bad, but it's not like as bad as you'd think. I'm the only girl majoring in music in my year, and in music, science, and technology. So that has been awkward sometimes, but yeah, I mean, you just got to connect with other women, like people have been saying, other women, other people of like, people of color. They also have, very similar experiences. Yeah, that's what I'd say. Just find something, hold on to it, and write it until you graduate, I guess.
Yeah, going along with that, how do you balance your academic and your mental and social well-being? And kind of we can wrap this also into the question about how has mentorship been for you at Stanford and how has that impacted your mental and social well-being? And that can both be like professors, upperclassmen, or just other people on campus who advise you.
Yeah, I can start. I guess like to answer the first part of the question, I think in order to like balance academic, social, and mental well-being, I think the biggest part for me was to like admit to myself that burnout is real. Because Stanford is a fun place. It's like we do have great resources and really take advantage of them, but it's also it's a very competitive and still like a really like great but also like extremely rigorous program. or it has like extremely rigorous like engineering or any major program. So I think I really had to like tell myself that like self-care is really for survival, and like you can't work, I don't know, like 10, 20 hours a day. Like you have, or I guess like telling myself that I have to set some time like aside to do things that I actually enjoy, like just going on a walk, like going on a hike, or like even like going outside for coffee. So things like that that bring me small but like definite joys in my life, and just like everyday things. And I think getting to that point, I think biggest like help I received was like really from my mentor. I can't really speak. I mean, I can like go on about like how great my mentor has been and how supportive. But yeah, I guess like just from like small things like drafting a difficult email, or like navigating difficult conversations like at work, or like in a class, like to like looking out for like internship opportunities and like getting connected with people. Like a lot of those, like I just didn't know how to navigate because I'm an international student. Like none of my family has been, or like they didn't come to the US for college. So a lot of times I had to like find out where the resources were and like how to navigate this like vast, yeah, basically like resource. And like I think a huge part of that has been my mentor, and like and both like upperclassmen and like graduate students I've had a chance to like interact with.
Yeah, I agree with what Alex said. Burnout is definitely real, and recognizing that is very important. And I think for me, that took the form of recognizing that like doing 3 STEM classes, or like loading my schedule up freshman year on like all of my STEM classes is just not smart and not good for me in terms of like my mental health or my physical health in any way. And like also I think when I came to like accept that and act on it, I like came to just enjoy Stanford so much more, because it meant that like I had space to take my like classics classes that I liked in a quarter and like give myself more breadth, and that allowed me to like meet a whole different community as well. And so I was able to find people to go to for advice both in the STEM community as well as outside of it. And that's been really important for me to just get a different perspective on life, and I've really, really valued that. For mentorship, I think mentorship, as Alex said, has been like massively important for me. Definitely clubs within majors. So like Jenna mentioned a couple. I'm part of Engineers for a Sustainable World, and that has been something that I've really thrown myself into completely. And that has just been a wonderful experience for me, because I've got to meet so many people through that, and graduates like studying graduate programs as well as just undergrad programs, and having a community like that where like you're fully a part of it has been really, really wonderful. Though one other thing I want to say is actually I found a lot of mentorship through like 1-2 unit classes, even if like they're really big classes or smaller classes. But classes like that are really, really awesome, because you can like reach out to the speakers, reach out to the professor doing it, and they're holding these classes because they want people who are like interested in learning more to reach out to them. And so I've met like the professor I'm doing research with right now. I met her through one of these like 1 unit classes, like the class that like kind of made me decide on like what I want to focus on for like the next couple of years of study. That was like a 1 unit class. So I would like really, really recommend, if you do enroll in these classes, going and appreciating the value that they have and taking advantage of that.
Yeah, definitely along the same vein. I feel like Stanford does a really good job of lining you up and making you bump into all these people that are just going to stick with you as you go through Stanford. And you don't realize it when you meet them. But now that I look back, like someone like that for me is Faith, who has done so much to mentor me and keep me sane throughout this entire wild ride that is college. And that being said, I have other people too that are very close to my heart that have really, really, like I would not be here without them. And it's great because a lot of the time Stanford somehow like pairs you up with these people, whether it be through classes, as Darcy mentioned, or through like for instance, when you get into Stanford, you're going to be assigned a Stanford Newcomer guide. I think there's a different name for that now. They keep changing it. If anyone knows what that is, please shout it out. I don't know what it is. But see, no one knows because they keep changing. But my Newcomer guide, I think this is a great example of how this just works out. So I was just assigned her, and then you're going to be assigned to a host of other like advisors, whether it be like your residency where you're living, or your academic dean, or your major dean, or your major advisor, or your newcomer guide. So there's a whole bunch of people that Stanford like kind of shoves at you and is like, talk to these people, they will help you. And it's honestly, I so highly recommend doing that. My newcomer guide, I can tell you this one story. She's so amazing, so sweet. She runs the Center for African Studies, and there was one quarter where I was just feeling so much burnout. It was actually my last sophomore winter. I had taken like a really heavy load of classes the quarter before, and I was just, I couldn't. It was just a really bad time, and I couldn't load my plate as much for winter. So knowing my mentor and having built this relationship with her, she let me enroll in one of the classes that she taught and just kind of like take it easy in that class just to gather myself and have that mental health back. So this is what I'm talking about. If you make these connections, you will make these friends and these mentors, and they will support you because there's so much love here at Stanford to go around. And that's like part of the reason why I really like it here. So yeah.
Yeah, just a quick thing about what I said before. I just want to say that I didn't mean to like scare anyone or like say, Stanford is a great place. I just wanted to like talk about that experience that I've had as a way of acknowledging the way that compounding identities impact your experience at Stanford. And they do, and that's a reality no matter where you go. So yeah, in terms of this question, what the other panelists said is very true, like balancing the kinds of classes that you take. So for me, I have a rule that I don't take more than 2 STEM classes in a quarter. And that's just been a hard rule. Like I've only had to break it one time and it was really bad. But so coming up with like boundaries kind of for yourself. Also, getting to know people who believe in you. And there's a lot of people here at Stanford who believe in you, grad students and professors and other upperclassmen for me were a huge resource. Some of those people are now like my best friends, and they literally are the reason that I'm probably still like, doing what I've been doing. And yeah, I mean, just acknowledge that it's hard and your feelings are valid, and surround yourself with people who validate those feelings, I guess would be my main source of advice for like balancing your mental well-being. Also, drink water, try to eat right. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for answering. And I will say that like one thing I appreciated about like when I was an admit, like talking to people at Stanford, was that people were just so honest about like what the good things about Stanford were and what they're struggling with. And it wasn't something I heard with other universities. So I would definitely when you're trying to choose universities, try to get people to tell you like both the good and the bad. So the next question we have is, what are some things you do outside of your STEM majors on campus, either student groups, hobbies, or clubs, and how have these helped supplement your academic or non-academic life at Stanford? And we've had a couple questions in the chat, both about the intersection of art or music and STEM and going abroad and research. So if anybody has experiences in them, you can address those in this question too.
I guess I'm just gonna talk briefly about like my like what I love doing outside academics. I'm like continuously bringing this up, but I have been staffing at the Women's Community Center. This is my 4th year, and I just love I love the people, I love the directors, I love co-staff, and the space too. Like we have a beautiful building on the 1st floor of the fire truck house, and I just love going into the space, like seeing people, and like that always just brings me a smile. Like even thinking about it now makes me really happy. It's a little unfortunate that we don't have a space available to us today, or but we will soon, hopefully. And I just have to echo a lot of the comments that were made about finding people who validate and who appreciate you and the beautiful things that you do. And I think for me, that's really been the Women's Community Center. And going into research, I think there are different opportunities. I know different departments offer research opportunities throughout the quarters and especially during the summer. And I think some of them, or it might be slightly different for different departments, but a lot of them, they try to gear towards underclassmen to give them more exposure to different majors and different topics that might be relevant to their majors. So if you're interested in research, definitely look out for those opportunities. Or if you've taken a class and you really enjoy it, then it's a lot easier to try to connect to the professor or the TAs after you've taken a class or during while you're taking a class, because that also gives them more context and you know them and they know you better because you've shown up to classes and you've done the work. So I think that's also a great way. And it's always great to talk to people who've been or who has done research in the past, because they also have different tips and different ways of getting into research. I feel like it sounds really scary. At least for me, it was really scary because I didn't really do research or didn't know what it was like to be doing research or whatever. So I was super scared, but I think it becomes a lot easier the second time or the third time you do it, because now you know, you've worked with different people on different topics. So it's just really getting your foot into the door, and that can be helped again by so many people. So I think just knowing that you want to do it, or just pushing through, even though it's kind of scary at first. And there are great opportunities and resources to help you along that.
Yeah, I feel like I'm always starting off by saying, yeah, I completely agree, but Alex says some great things. So yes, I completely agree. Just while we're kind of still talking about research, I would say the biggest thing for me was to maybe be deliberate with who I approached for research, because I think I got very overwhelmed. There were so many awesome professors, and figuring out who to approach and how to approach meant that I just never really got around to doing it. And so if you want to do research, if that's something you're really interested in, I think maybe instead of or just do your research on the professor, definitely would recommend taking a class with them, because then you can actually get to know the professor and get to know their style and determine is this someone that I want to work with and work for. And then you also get a feel for the material that you'll be doing research in, because I think doing research in a topic that you enjoy is just absolutely such a game changer, because you'll have that experience for the rest of your time at Stanford, and you'll also have the support system of a lab and whoever your mentor within the lab is, as well as that professor. And if that's a subject that you really care about, that's an incredible experience to have. I think it's really, really awesome. In terms of other I guess academics or things that I do outside of classes, as I mentioned, I'm just going to put it again, Engineers for a Sustainable World. I love the organization that has definitely let me explore practical engineering problems outside of my major. I think that's for STEM majors, that's something that Stanford it can be sometimes a little difficult to do at Stanford, to find practical engineering experience rather than just theoretical or class projects. And so getting out and finding that either through research or me through this organization was really, really awesome. And I really valued that. I think also somebody might have asked a question about going abroad. I actually managed to go abroad through Engineers for a Sustainable World. I spent a summer working in Peru on an engineering project. That was really, really awesome. Like just a fantastic experience for me. And kind of taught me a lot about the field of international development as well as engineering, which I wasn't necessarily expecting. So yeah. Yeah, Jenna, sorry.
Yeah. Research, right? I think definitely I just wanted to reiterate this. I think research is literally the easiest job to do on campus. It's just so easy to get. You can approach any one of your professors, any one of the faculty, and you go up to them, you go ask, hey, can I get involved in one of your research projects? I know that you're doing XYZ on campus. Can I hop in on that? 9 times out of 10, they'll let you join. And they'll even, most of the time, they'll pay you or give you work study for that, which is really, really great. I remember my freshman year, I approached someone in the hospital that was doing really interesting research, and I worked for the Department of Otolaryngology. We did jewel research, like jewel research, against it, not for it. Even though jewel was, sad fact, jewel was founded on Stanford campus. So that's where what y'all are getting into. Future entrepreneurs everywhere. With that being said, yeah, research is super easy to do, even easier to do over the summer. I know a lot of my friends who are doing that right now and are going to lab in addition to doing classes, and you can get credit for doing research as part of your unit requirements too, which is really, really great. In terms of other stuff that I'm involved with, right now, I'm an RA in one of the dorms. And that's wonderful because I have a couple freshmen on my hall. And they're so clueless; they don't know what's happening, and it's really nice to be able to be the shepherd to guide them around campus and whatnot. Other than that, I've also been staffing at the Women's Community Center with Alex. It's my second year. Next year will be my third year, so I'm really excited for that. We're actually putting a summit on in 2 weeks. If y'all would like to come, I'm just going to pub that really quick. It's open to everybody, especially you admitted students. I don't know if any of you watched that show Pose. It's really great, but I'm going to be interviewing one of the lead actresses. So that's really exciting. Once again, opportunities that Stanford lets you do. Yes, thank you, Faith. Thank you, Faith. Always doing my job for me. Other things I'm involved with, I'm a part of Stanford Consulting, so that's really cool. We get to consult on projects for a lot of big companies like Google and Panasonic, so that's been pretty cool. And other than that, I guess I don't know if this counts, but I'm trying to minor in art and go abroad to Florence next quarter to do that. But I guess that counts as my academics now because I'm trying to minor in it. But yes, love that. Yeah. Please go to the summit.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's kind of odd for me to like talk about kind of my extracurriculars because a lot of them are, like whatever academic side I'm not doing is kind of like my extracurricular for when I'm doing the other. I mean, it's all like an important part of my experience. That being said, I've been a part of a lot of like musical groups on campus. Specifically, I was part of a couple of choirs and the Stanford Light Opera Company. And those were good experiences. There's a ton of opportunities to like do arts type things. I also did the Italic program my freshman year, and that opened up a lot of opportunities. Italic is like a freshman year residential program. I also did leadership. So I was the co-president of physics undergrad women and gender minorities for 2 years, and that allowed me to do like outreach and kind of just mentorship and like getting to know how to run an organization, and bonding with the other officers and the other people. And that was a good experience. yeah, I didn't have the opportunity to go abroad, but you definitely should if you can. And yeah, I mean, just to give an example of like kind of the random opportunities that you get at Stanford is that I'm actually teaching a class right now about Star Wars because I'm a really big Star Wars fan, and I just like I I was able to do that because Stanford has like a lot of, opportunities for random things like that. So that's really fun. Um and yeah.
Yeah, thanks so much, everyone. We have 2 minutes left, and this is kind of a big question, but if you could try to answer it like in a succinct way, it's what is your biggest piece of advice to people who that you wish you had known when you were a freshman? And we can start with Alex.
This is kind of echoing what's already been said, but I guess the biggest one for me is like, don't be afraid of reaching out to people. And also don't be afraid to like bring your whole self to like whatever groups or classes or meetings. Cause I think that's the only way you'll find people who really appreciate and like see the value in you. And like, they're also the people who appreciate and validate you. And I think over the years, I've learned how important that is. So don't be afraid to like reach out, ask for help, but also just be yourself.
Yeah, I would say like just definitely just reach out to people, like go for it. I think take advantage of, like Jenna said, like all of the resources Stanford has, because they will like happily like pretty much just like throw resources and like help at you if you reach out and ask for it, I think. I'd also say just like there are so many amazing people at Stanford who, if you like literally just send them an email or like pop into their office hours if you're taking a class with them, or just sit there and talk with you about their work and like have conversations with you. And that's how I've met just like some of the most amazing people at Stanford. Most of the time, like not even related to my major. I had like an awesome discussion about like philosophy with this one professor just kind of randomly, and it was really cool. I was in a quantum mechanics class, but we spent like an hour talking about that instead. And it's just really cool to have these like connections with all these amazing people. And I think that's like just been the most amazing part of Stanford. So yeah.
Darcy took the one I was going to say, but definitely take advantage of all those resources. One thing that I didn't know when I was a freshman is that you can apply for grants to fund your trips and experiences for whatever reason. This is less academic. I mean, it should be academically focused, but you can apply for grants to go a variety of places as long as you spin it as a academically motivated trip. I know people that went to Kanye concerts on Stanford's dime. I know people that have gone to Vegas on Stanford's dime. So once again, I'm just saying, like, this is the place to be if and this is like the 4 years that you will be able to do all of these things. So I highly recommend that you take advantage of that. Also, don't date anyone freshman year. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, I also just I have an answer to this question, but I also realized that I forgot to talk about research last time, mostly because everyone else talked about research. But Stanford is a research institution. Do research. Like even if you don't know what it is or anything, just try it. It's great. That's literally been like the most fun that I've had at Stanford, probably, is like doing summer research. So definitely try that. There's a ton of opportunities. I guess that could be an advice to freshmen too. But my main advice to, prospective freshmen, or to myself freshman year, would be like try to recognize that school is hard, and allow yourself to feel things. Your grades are not your worth. Your grades are not your worth. Your grades are not your worth. Everyone is on their own path, and wherever you start on that path, there are opportunities for you to do what you want to do. even if it seems impossible. So yeah, just take advantage of Stanford's money and Stanford's resources and the privilege that comes with being at Stanford. And whatever you end up caring about, just do it. Just see it through, and don't let anyone tell you that you're not good enough, or that that's something, that you can't do it, because you can, and Stanford will enable you to do it.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing, and thanks to all the panelists for speaking today about their experiences in STEM. And thanks for coming, everyone. We're going to end the event, but if you want to learn more about the Women's Community Center, you can visit our website, as I said at the beginning, I think it's stanfordwcc.weebly.com. And also, if you have any questions about STEM or anything, you can feel free to reach out to me, and I'll put my email in the chat as well. But yeah, have a great day, everyone, and thanks for coming. And I hope you have a great rest of your Cardinal Days experience.